Welcome back to the room. I am very much looking forward to this next debate. As you may know, and if you don't, I'm going to reveal the latest Quadient report. And they're talking about communications in terms of everything you heard this morning. How do you streamline? What's the challenges? What's the best way forward? Why are we seeing a lack of adoption? And also, I think one of the things that, Casper, you mentioned in your introduction earlier today was super interesting, around the 23% of potential risk in revenue if you don't have a single voice, if you don't have a streamlined communication strategy in this digital world. I thought that was quite interesting. I am Kristensen. I am a podcast host, and I have founded Pantrium, which is a podcast and event gathering. And I have gotten the honor of supporting our discussion today with Jenny, Kristina, and Casper. And we're going to talk about exactly this. And I wanted to actually utilize the report to facilitate the discussion around, and as we talked about this morning as well, we live in the Nordics. It is hyper-digitalized. The infrastructure is there. The technology is there. However, we are seeing perhaps a wild west when it comes to the digital-first strategy and an enablement in organizations, specifically in banking, financial services, and pension. We're going to talk about that, and how do you actually overcome that? How do you win with a digital strategy, and how do you streamline this? So I wanted to bring out those stories and examples as much as possible with all of you. But first of all, Jenny, do you want to introduce yourself? I wanted for each of you just to put some words on who you are, where you're from, and also because you each have a different approach to communication. But first of all, let's just get a quick introduction for each of you. Jenny, if you go first, please.
My name is Jenny Gafner. I'm head of marketing at Ikano Bank, and we're located in Hyllie in Sweden, in Malmö. I'm in charge of facilitating the sales, making sure that is happening, as well as making sure that the customer get the best communication in order to understand what they should do. We're operating in 8 markets, and I have a team of 20 people working with me.
Mm-hmm. And Kristina?
I'm Kristina Lunde. I am working as a CIO, but today I'm a CTO, and it's fine. I've been in finance for a long time. My background is computer science, so I am the IT guy in the equation. I assisted, I'm with Norli Liv and Pension, which is the old Almindelig Brand, life and pension. And I assisted them as a consultant in building the IT platform when they carved out from Almindelig Brand. That is actually a positive thing because we were starting from scratch. We were able to decide what would be the best as a future journey. So there was, of course, we took the legacy system with us, but it was a good choice. So right now we are upgrading our document management platform, and we have a lot of things that we have been thinking about and doing while we were doing that. So that's
yeah. And Casper, I feel like we know you. Just a tiny bit. You also shared a really good opening session this morning. Maybe I would like you to answer first. And as we kind of go back through the panelists, we talk about communications, and we talk about, and as you had in your opening session in terms of who owns what, you have the marketing sitting in one side of the customer journey and the funnel, and you have the applications, the service layer being on the other side of it, and that streamline of communications platform, the importance of a communications platform. What does communication actually mean from your perspective, from a service provider platform perspective?
I think from our perspective, it's very much being able to follow the market, follow the trends, making sure that we do have a roadmap that supports what businesses want to do and change with their companies. And I think one of the things we see very much currently is very much this business user enablement part, which also bank data was talking about. I think that is something that really drives change because, as I talked about before, we have a lot of legacy systems in many organizations, and the time to change 19 times handoff in a document or communication, that's just not feasible anymore. The world moves too fast for having to go through 19 kind of approvals or handoffs or something. But I think from our perspective as a technology provider, being able to support our customers in the journey and how the world is evolving is where our place is. We need to make sure we follow the market, have the roadmap, talk with our customers, getting the feedback as to what are the actual needs, and not just always looking at analyst reports. And I'm very proud to say that every time we look at that from Quadient perspective, our customers really like working with us, specifically because we are listening to them. It sounds easy, but
it's hard.
It's hard.
It's really hard.
It's really hard.
And it's great to see all the numbers, right? But that bring that to reality. Your recent report also refers to that the majority of the businesses understand in this space, right? Understand the importance of being data-driven. We talk about legacy, Kristina, from your perspective, because you sit on the technical side of the house, if I may. CIO, CTO, right? When you see the word communication as we enter this debate, what's your take on it?
In general, because I've been in the industry for a long time, for me it's something with uniting an organization's way of addressing, both internally, but I think today I would say externally, addressing the how do we as a company communicate to our clients. And we have talked about this Wild West, and I think that in order to make sure that we are speaking the same language from early customers before they are customers, but all the way through the life cycle, I believe that this about uniting the strategy, as you were talking about, but also securing that the data that we are actually using and the way we are communicating from marketing, but also through the life cycle and service of clients, that's alpha omega for me.
And throughout the day or this morning as well, we talked about this streamlining of communications, as you said as well, Kristina, right? And Jenny, I know this is something you are kind of keen on, and you sit on the marketing. I feel like marketing have been a little bit perhaps as the bad guys in these discussions here. But what's your take when you see communications, and as we're talking about being data-driven, understanding customers, streamlining? What's your take on the word communications?
My take on communication is something that is enabling sales, actually, and to make it easier for customers to use your products and understand how to use them, and to make the customer journey as smooth as possible, and removing the hiccups, and to make your product and your company get in the best perspective in the customer as possible. And I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
It's and I know that it's very tricky because it sits very much in silos, especially in a digitalized world where you have been moving quite fast in Scandinavia and the Nordics, and you really want to go even faster, and everybody want to go fast. And it turns out that you have a pretty fragmented customer journey when you look at it. You have the classic communication. There are probably some girls sitting around doing emails, and then it rolls into the product owners where for some reason it's not really connected to what happened before. And then you have all the compliance and the maybe technical aspects of a product where you have to communicate that as well to the customer. So I think that unfortunately, while we wanted to be super fast and move super fast, and we did that, but we a little bit forgot the touch points. And touch points can be something that when I say touch points to you, you will probably roll your eyes, you want to have another coffee, and you think I'm going to show a PowerPoint from the marketing department. And it has been like that for a long time. But I think it's very important moving forward that we are sharing this customer journey. And long story short, I think that we should work very differently. And I'm actually not quite sure that marketing departments, as they have been looking like for forever, should look like that anymore. I think that the marketing department should be maybe a little bit dismantled and brought into pieces and work across the organization to get the best out of it. Thank you very much, Kristina.
Of course. And I wanted to talk to you, Casper, about this, because we talk about this, concept of digital disruption. Everything should move faster. You showed the very powerful slides that put it on black and white, right? We are having the emails. It took us, 30 years to hit 1 million usage, right? And we are seeing the likes of ChatGPT, and we are seeing the thread with Instagram taking 2 days, right? It's to Jenny's point. It has to go fast. It has to be extremely fast. And we also like to put AI on everything, right? From your perspective, and as you work with the ecosystem, what's the biggest pitfalls when it comes to streamlining and the operations?
I think there's a very good example for a Swedish company called Klarna that wanted to digitalize and put AI into their whole customer service. I think they laid off around, 200 people. They did that for 6 months, and then they hired 150 people back, because they found out that they were losing their competitive edge. Because in the world of AI and technology in general, if everybody has the same AI, everybody has the same technology, what's the difference?
Yeah.
Then all the companies are the same. I think the biggest pitfall a company can do is relying only on AI. In my opinion, AI should be able to support the business, optimize efficiency, all these things, but you still need to keep your human touch on your communications and on your companies in general.
And Kristina, from your perspective in the technical side of the organization, so you're seeing that this push of doing more and faster, but also with less, right? Again, we are cutting costs, right? We want to still over-succeed. We want growth, but we also want minimum output in terms of where we're spending our money. Are you seeing that push in terms of the unbalance, perhaps?
Yes and no. I think that what we in IT or technical departments need to do is actually to enable the organization to secure that you are able to have that special customer connection, and then it's a matter of having a platform or securing that the data that is used by the platform is available in a user-friendly way. And then I think that it is, I don't know if they could call it first level, at least in financial businesses, I would say that this is about thinking that all the clients just need to have output or communication. That's not a way. There is still a lot, especially in pension insurance, that needs to have a face-to-face communication. But all the other communication that is supporting it needs to be aligned so that we are talking with the same, having the same company itch, and that needs
same voice.
Exactly, and that needs people. I agree.
And
even though I love IT,
I think we all love IT, right? It's the enabler, and I think that's the important part, right? It enables us to do something. It doesn't become the hero of the story, and I think from Pantrium, we love those messy middles. We love the real stories about how do you go about it. So we're sitting here talking about we need to streamline. We need to make sure that we have data to make data-driven decisioning, and we need to have one voice out towards the customer and so on. Can you give me some examples, Kristina, on how do you see this coming to life? What some of those considerations perhaps others in the room here could take with them?
One of the things that we have done in this, because we were also, as you were, hit by an application that went sunsetting soon, having to go, and that was also not COBOL developers, but developers that was needed every time, because they knew where data were, as the only one in the organization. The rest of the organization knew how to use other applications. So we needed to go out and find something else. And what was very important for us was actually to involve our end users, not close customers, but end users in this selection, because we know that they are the ones that are actually going to drive this. Also because of all the workflow possibilities that are there. So in order to both select and own and embrace this new platform, for us it's very, very important that it's actually moving, and that the end users are very much involved in the whole setup and implementing it.
Yeah. And is that an invitation to work across departments as well? And also, again, if we have this famous almost full flow chart that you showed earlier, Christian, are we saying that also the service, the application layer, and the technical side of the organization need to work closer together with marketing? And I wanted to say, is that an invitation to you, Jenny, to also lean in?
I think so. And I'm a big believer in both what you are saying, that I think that we should use AI as an enabler and standardize as much as we can and work super close with both the data folks and with IT in order to get as much as we can standardized, and to go back to as much customer communication, hence on having the talk, having that connectivity that we a little bit, I would say, went away from when we wanted to be super digitalized and be everything should be emails and so forth. And I think this is a great opportunity to do two things. One thing is to work, which I am a big champion of, to work across the organization, because I think that if we're going to succeed together and do something fun, do something smart, and get the most out of the people we're working with, is to work very much across the organization. I haven't seen the perfect organization chart for that yet, but let's aim for that, because then I think we can work closer together. And by doing that, I think you create a fundament for having the operations team, having the time, spending time on the right things, not to spending time on errors or nitty-gritty things that is optimizing their business, and get back to that customer connectivity, which a little bit comes back to what we discussed in the beginning too. I think it's super important to remember the customer across the organization, and by working differently, I think that we can level up a little bit and to have that focus. And it can easily become a little bit of a cliche that, the customer should be in the center, but and we don't think about what it means. But what it means is actually that we're still going to be in business. We're going to make smart, sustainable business decision. And I think that with that focus, we can all work better together. And I think it's very important to have that message across the organization, to be able to navigate with new tools, with new possibilities, and also with a little bit different scene in the market.
Yeah. And it all sounds so easy, but it's really tough, right? Like, hands up, how many of you have spoken to a customer within the last, let's say, 2 weeks? Right? It's tough. We know it's table stakes. We all talk about it, but we forget it because it's so easy. And it's so important. And I wanted to go back to you, Casper, because again, like when we're also saying about cross collaboration, yeah, sure, we've heard it in textbooks, we've known about it, we know we all need to collaborate, but day-to-day practice, I need my stuff done, I have X hours a day to do it, I have my KPIs, I know that's also something you're very touched up on, right, in terms of are we having the right matrix within an organization? From your perspective, Casper, in order to facilitate this collaboration across the ecosystem, across the customer journey, and allow us to really be customer-centric and understand how to use that data to create the right communication. Again, what is the things you would tell the audience here today to think of and keep in mind of? What some examples where you see this come to life and that it's not just theory. I want to hear a real story.
A real story, yeah. I think it's very, first of all, it's very hard to come with a definite answer on that because every organization is different. Yeah. And if I knew how to change it in every organization,
you'll be rich.
Exactly, I would not be sitting here. Yeah. I wish I knew that. I wish McKinsey knew that and everyone. But the fact is that every organization is different. Every organization has different legacy systems, different legacy organizations. Then people are talking agile and lean and all these new concepts. And I think it's very much from a business perspective or an organizational perspective. The ones that succeed are the ones that dare to step out of their own organization and look outside in. And not be afraid to sometimes change the organization to the systems. And again, keeping customer centricity. It sounds easy, and we've talked about it for the last 20 years, but we're still missing it. Because then the KPI is, hey, we need to save 20% on operating cost. Okay, how can we optimize? And then, so I think it's very much from C-level, from having the right KPIs, and from looking outside in on your organizations. That was a very fluffy answer. But,
And let's just address the elephant in the room. Because if you own the channel, if you own the data, you have power in the organization. No one wants to give up that power. Your point of let's step outside of your comfort, outside of your role in the organization, why would you do that? You risk losing your job, right?
Exactly.
Who owns the data? How do we then make sure that it perhaps have a new structure? Because Kristina, I know you are very keen on also addressing the ownership of channels, the ownership of data. What's your perspective here? How can this play a role in all of us succeeding?
But for me, it is actually the C-level. It is we need to define a common communication strategy so that we are also embracing what they are doing in marketing, which is fantastic. But these customers that comes, hopefully, in needs to be communicated with in a similar way. They don't need to be confused about now we are in, now we are customer, now it's completely different discussions. So that is why I think it is extremely important that it is a strategy that is really owned and that it is what the company wants. And then you can be customer-centric, I believe. But it is, we need a lot of gills that needs to talk together about what are we doing, because I think that marketing is extremely important, because that is the first part. If you get the customers in there, they want to be addressed like that. Yeah. So it is, very easy.
Jenny, it's very easy. What's holding you back?
Well, I'm a little bit getting back to. Now I'm getting a little bit detailed here, but I'm coming from a company that actually was closing down. So my last task there was to do a completely new model of working with customer communication and data, basically. And it was one of the best things I ever done, to completely disrupt myself, to remove my whole department, to think about how to work with, because we were closing down, we're not going to sell, but obviously we were going to maintain the customer base as long as they wanted to stay, and the tech should be there, the compliance part should be there, the communication should be there, operation should be there, blah, blah, blah. But it was such a healthy exercise to break down all the pieces and rethink how you work with customer communication. And marketing consists of many things, and I think that especially when it comes to customer communication, maybe it should, move away from marketing and maybe into other departments. Maybe you should have a customer communication team in your department, and then of course work closely with the salespeople and marketing people.
I agree.
But and I think there's also a cultural aspect of this that I think that we could get so much more out of what we're set out to do. If we would change that completely and to get all it's primarily girls though, but all these girls into your team and to let them do their thing and get to know all of you. But I think you're mostly maybe tech IT people. Yeah, no, yeah. But that's to completely change that, and I think that we should start with marketing because had been a little bit of a old setup too long, and the world has changed, and I think that's my best bet to.
Yeah, Kristina.
Yeah, but I like what you started. I like what you started up with, saying that maybe we should actually split up marketing and put it in all departments, because I don't think that marketing should go away. Because to be honest, I think we all should think about what are we. We are here because of the customers. Period. Nobody else. So it would be good if there is so much more focus on. That we are all here in order to actually, we are also doing other things, but if we are not hitting the customer with the right tone, same voice, then it's just, So I think that we should all think about customer.
There's many ways to do this, but I think that would be my best bet and my first step, to think about how to get organized. Or maybe it's many ways to do this, but at least take one step in that direction, because then I think we could address many things, both culturally, also competence-wise, and also getting more out of systems and data and general insights in terms of this.
Yeah, and we could almost use AI as an excuse, right? We need to rewrite the whole organization. We need to streamline our operations. We're going to reorganize the way that we are facilitated at working. But however, again, going back to this comfort. Right? We talked about executive leaders as well. Andrew was on the Pantrium podcast not too long ago talking also about the cycle of how long people are sat in executive seats. They don't want to be disrupted. Leaders are often closing to pensionate. They definitely don't want to be disrupted. They would like to just ease right, exit, brilliant, right? So what are we going to do? Like, Casper, from your perspective, as you have we need to streamline systems. We also have the data around many are utilizing more than one system. So there's that project. But also the upskilling, the rewiring of an organization at a core to understand how to bring that customer centricity, the data-driven decision making. And then when we do put AI on it, it actually works because it just fires the whole process up, right? What's your take? What's your one thing you would say that is achievable and are not completely leaving many people out of a job? What would you say should be something that people here in the room should go home and think about? Easy question.
Yeah, easy question. With a very long answer. No, I think again it must be business user enablement, because what we see a lot is, as I mentioned in my previous presentation, our platform is mainly owned by IT. And many businesses or organizations doesn't know that they even have a CCM system or output management system or whatever they call it, because nobody is actually using it. So if you get the business involved in actually creating, managing, taking ownership of those communications, and if it's just a small thing, like having marketing owning a newsletter in the platform, then I truly believe that people will see opportunities and possibilities for actually expand use cases. If you don't have the executive leadership for it. Because of course the easiest thing would be coming top down and say, hey, we need to do this. But let's be honest, as you said, it's not always executive leaders that wants to do that. They don't want to be disrupted.
And should we be honest, do they always understand it either?
That's not for me to comment on.
I can comment upon that.
Yeah, comment,
because I don't think so. Because if I would take my best thing from this, and my first step, it was actually to, I don't think that we should sit around and wait for C-level decision. My perspective sometimes is they don't have the answer, because they're not in the nitty-gritty daily work and face these challenges that we have been discussing here. I think that we should do a little quiet revolution and start to reach out to each other. I don't know, if you're going to start to do whatever your next project, engage with somebody in marketing. Hey, I have this is a good idea. Why don't we borrow these 2 resources from your department, because we need them. We need their perspective. And bit by bit, you're starting to change the way you're working and borrow competences from each other. And then probably somebody from the C-level will show up and, oh, what are you doing down there? And be a little bit annoyed that they were not. But then you can tell them the good story, and you can have a very clear answer why you start to work as you do. And I think, trial by it wouldn't, and also big difference between large companies and small companies. Way easier in small companies. But I think we have to make this change ourselves to start to borrow people from each other, to engage, and to do it bit by bit, and then we probably have hopefully changed the way we work.
And bit by bit, I think it's a good point as well, because often we tend to also overcomplicate, and it becomes these huge deliverables and projects, and it takes forever and ever to come to life, if it actually ever comes to life, right? And I think having those smaller experiments, even in bigger organizations, take inspiration from fintechs and the smaller startups that are nimble, utilize that mindset to just one step at a time and rigid, and then you can pivot. Kristina, from your perspective, for the audience today, one thing that they could do tomorrow, what would you say would be one thing in order to move forward towards this overarching
So I've taken it
one?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think I've been there a couple of times. So I do believe that that a common platform is essential. But I also think that the communication strategy needs to follow. Otherwise, it will just be. And I do believe also, and it's easier in a small company because we are actually including the marketing in the project that we are doing now. We are including service. We're not including C-level so much, but we have got the go to do what we are setting out to do, and we are involving the business from day one. And at least one of the developers are going on pension right after. So we are of course focusing on putting the right information there and centralizing it, because that is another problem. Because we have in our organization, it's a sales department that has found a lot of nice tools and are communicating, and they are also involved in the project. So hopefully, that was a lot of things. But.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. I don't know if you have time for questions. I think we're running a little bit behind, but thank you so much. Thank you.